The evening drizzle coated the streets of downtown Chicago with a silvery sheen. Inside the Silver Spoon Cafe, warmth spilled from the amber lights and the soft murmur of jazz filled the air. It was the kind of place where strangers came to forget, and the lonely came to remember. Liam Carter, a man in his early 40s, sat at the corner table near the window. The tailored suit and gold cufflinks whispered wealth, but his tired eyes told a story money couldn't fix. Once upon a time, Liam was the kind of man who could command a boardroom or light up a dinner party with his laughter. But that was before Emily, his wife of 15 years, passed away from a sudden heart attack. Since then, the world had lost its color. Every Friday evening, he came here. It was Emily's favorite cafe, where she'd insisted they share coffee even when he was drowning in work. "It's not about time," she used to say. "It's about moments." He hadn't understood it then. Now he lived inside the echo of those words. That night, something changed. A new waitress appeared at his table. Her name tag read Sophie. She couldn't have been more than 25. Her hair was a soft chestnut brown, tied loosely, and her smile, gentle, patient, warm, and stopped his breath. For a split second, Liam thought his heart had betrayed him. She looked just like Emily. "Would you like to order something, sir?" she asked, her voice polite but tinged with that same lilting tone Emily used to have when she teased him. He blinked. I already ordered, but you remind me of someone I once knew." Sophie gave a small, awkward laugh. "Maybe I've got one of those faces. People tell me that sometimes." As she walked away, her laughter floated behind her like a melody Liam had heard before, faint but unforgettable. He stared into his coffee, suddenly aware of the weight in his chest shifting. It wasn't pain exactly, but it wasn't peace either. It was something in between, hope maybe. He stayed longer than usual that night, watching Sophie move around the cafe, helping customers, brushing hair from her face, and smiling at everyone with the same kindness Emily once radiated. When he finally left, the city lights blurred behind the rain-soaked glass of his car window. For the first time in 2 years, Liam didn't go home to drink or stare at empty photo frames. He went home to think about how someone's smile, a stranger's smile, had brought his wife's memory back to life. And before he drifted to sleep, an idea took root in his restless heart. Tomorrow he would ask Sophie for something strange, something that might help him finally say goodbye. The next afternoon, Sophie was wiping down tables when Liam walked in again, earlier than usual. His presence always drew a few curious glances. Tall, composed, handsome in a dignified way, but today, there was something softer about him. When she approached with her usual cheerful smile, he stood. "Sophie, could I have a moment of your time? Somewhere private, please?" They stepped outside near the cafe garden, where sunlight filtered through green ivy. Liam hesitated, his fingers brushing against his wedding ring, still on his hand after all this time. "I know this might sound insane," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. "Tomorrow would have been my wedding anniversary. My wife Emily passed away 2 years ago. Every year I visit the restaurant we loved most. But this year, I can't face it alone." He swallowed, his composure cracking. "You look so much like her. Your smile, your kindness. When I saw you, it felt like I'd seen her ghost. Sophie, would you be my date for one day? Just one?" Sophie froze, her mind racing. No one had ever asked her something like that before. For a moment she wondered if this was pity or madness. But when she looked at his trembling hands, she saw only grief, deep, honest, and human. She nodded slowly. "Just one day?" Liam's lips quivered into a faint smile. "Yes, only one day." The next evening, a black limousine waited outside her apartment. Sophie wore a soft blue dress she'd borrowed from her roommate. When she stepped out, the driver opened the door, and Liam was waiting inside, in a gray suit, holding a single white rose. "You look beautiful," he said, his voice hushed with emotion. They dined at La Vieille Maison, the same French restaurant he once took Emily to every anniversary. As they sat under the chandeliers, Liam spoke of his wife, the way she loved rainy days, how she'd bake cookies at midnight, and how she used to fall asleep on the couch watching old comedies. Sophie listened quietly, tears gathering in her eyes. At one point she reached across the table and took his hand. "She must have loved you very much." Liam smiled faintly. "She still does. I just needed to be reminded what love feels like." That night they danced on the terrace under city lights, not as lovers, Not as strangers, but as two souls trying to heal. For the first time in years, Liam didn't feel like a widower. He just felt alive. The morning after their date, the city was quiet. The rain had stopped, leaving behind streets that shimmered under golden sunlight. Sophie arrived early at the cafe, unsure what to expect. Liam was already there, sitting at his usual corner table, holding a bouquet of white lilies, Emily's favorite. When he saw Sophie, he stood and smiled softly. "I wanted to thank you," he said, handing her an envelope. "You gave me something precious and closure." Sophie frowned. "You don't need to thank me." He shook his head. "I do. For 2 years, I've lived like a ghost, punishing myself for surviving. But yesterday, you let me live again, even if it was only for a day." She opened the envelope and gasped. Inside was a check, large enough to pay for culinary school tuition, and a handwritten note. "Follow your dream. Emily believed love is what we give, not what we keep. Thank you for giving me back mine." Tears blurred Sophie's vision. "Liam, I can't take this." He placed a finger to his lips. "You already gave me more than money ever could. Let this be my way of saying goodbye." As he turned to leave, she called after him, "Will I see you again?" He paused, looking back with peaceful eyes. "You already did. Every time you smile at someone who needs it, you'll see me there." Then he walked away into the sunlight, leaving behind the ghost of his grief and the echo of a love that would never fade. Sophie stood by the window long after he left, clutching his letter to her heart. And for reasons she couldn't explain, the world suddenly felt brighter, as if somewhere above Emily was smiling too.